So the diagram below shows a complex feeding relationship that exists in our ecosystem. So we have to study it carefully and answer the questions that follow. So you have fox, hawk, sheep, grass, and mouse. So let's go straight in. So we have to identify and explain the feeding relationship illustrated in the question. So what kind of feeding relationship is that? It is a food web. And why not a food chain? Remember, a food chain is a linear feeding relationship. A linear feeding relationship, meaning it's a line. So it starts from one organism and ends at the extreme end. It's a single line. But you realize that for this particular one, it's not a line, but you would see the mouse can be eaten by the hawk and the fox. And then the grass can be eaten by the mouse and the sheep. So that means it's not one straight line. It's a network of food chains. So for a food web, it is a complex network of interconnected food chains in our ecosystem that shows how different organisms are related through their feeding relationship. So that's why we identify this feeding relationship as a food web. For the next question, we have to construct 3 simple feeding relationships from this type of diagram. So we have to construct 3. Basically, the question is asking you to form 3 food chains from this single food web. So you can pause the video and try it out. But this is the answer we have for the first food chain. We have we have grass to sheep to fox. Starting from the grass as the producer, they move to the sheep, then we end at the fox. That's the third food chain. We can also have grass to mouse to fox, and then we can also have it as grass to mouse to hawk. So all of these are possible food chains that we can get from this food web. That's why we said a food web is a network of interconnected food chains. So all of these food chains came together to form the food web we have on the screen. Our next question is this: to explain 3 main feeding levels found in the ecosystem as illustrated in the food web. What are the 3 main feeding levels? So here are our answers. The first level, we have producers. So for the producers, these organisms make their own food. They produce their own food by means of photosynthesis. And for example, we have grass. So in this particular food web, the producer is the grass. Then move to primary consumers. The primary consumers feed directly on the producers. That's why they are the primary level. They feed directly on the producers. And for this food web, we have the sheep and the mouse. And they have secondary consumers. They feed on the primary consumers. And for this food web, we have the fox and the hawk as the secondary consumers in this food web. Next, we have mentioned 4 activities that can affect the balance in ecosystem. So a balanced ecosystem is very, very important for the survival of living things, but there are certain activities that can affect the balance. What are they? We have urbanization. So now people try to, for the sake of human settlements, new homes, maybe roads, land for factories and companies. So because of this, or settlements, people now destroy the beautiful ecosystem that we have. So urbanization can actually affect the balance of an ecosystem. And then we have overfishing. Overfishing can also affect the ecosystem. And then we have improper waste management and disposal of waste, and industrial activities like mining, and then unregulated tourism. All of these can affect the ecosystem, and at the long run damages. So sad, eh? So this brings us to the end of this particular lesson, this particular question. So what are we to expect in our next lesson? So our next lesson will be on farm tools. So come back to watch our next lesson. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and share the videos with other students you know who benefit from these kind of lessons.